Hello.
How are you?
You know, good, fine, like everybody else.
It's possible that some folks are having trouble with the link. So okay. I think a bunch of people just came into the meeting. So I started the recording just so that I don't forget to start the recording when you call the meeting to order. A couple of things before we start. I am in the Lyle Shields room or the Shields Carter room. That's what. For that piece of the revised Open Meetings Act rules. The local decision at this time is that COVID cases in Champaign County are of enough concern to prevent us getting together in this room. Maybe it'll be different in October, but I don't mind this.
Fingers crossed and everything else.
I mean, I feel like we've kind of figured out the Zoom format, so pretty comfortable doing it this way. But I don't think we have a quorum quite yet, and it's also not 5:45. Also, Chandra will be doing the role of Stephanie Howard Gallo, even with taking the role. That's very helpful to me. So I only count 3 board members right now.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay.
So do
Well, if you don't have a quorum, there's quite a bit to discuss.
Yeah.
You can't, act on the, yeah, the action will have to wait till next month, but
I have a quick question. So I know that we've got like a couple who due to work, it's a little hard for them to get here at 5:45. Can we change the meetings to 6 o'clock, or is that only set once a year?
I think that's a conversation worth having. I know it was difficult for me to get there at 5:30, so we moved it 6:40 from 5:45. So, but I don't know about the rest of our members.
I mean, 5:45, 6, it doesn't really matter for me, but if that would help some of them, I'm willing to push it back an extra 15 minutes.
Okay. I can take the bike out.
You know, another board member came, and
So Julian's here.
yeah. But he decided to try to get home.
Yeah, I was saying, like, no.
Yeah,
I was wondering, it seemed light in the parking lot.
I know. I'm glad you were able to get in. That's good. Sorry, I'm sorry. I thought I was muted. We're having a whole conversation. So there is a board member here who will be joining us by laptop, but in the room.
Okay.
So we'll see, like, we might have to control our volumes. It'll be interesting. I think we can do it.
So that's 5 of us when he gets out.
You have,
I'm gonna need like Wi-Fi info or something.
let's see. I'm not sure I know the password.
The meeting ID, is that what you need?
No, the password to the Wi-Fi here.
Oh,
It's, hang on, I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself. Okay, I think we got it.
We're on.
So when Matt is connected, we'll have 5.
Mhm.
Let's just look at that part.
So you get the password today.
We're doing we have a little workaround for that
Okay.
because I don't know the password to the room. Might be, all right, I think we got it. I think you have a quorum.
And so too. Let's go to call to order. Roll call.
You know what, I think Chandra's not here yet, so I'll call the roll. Susan Fowler. Matt Hausman.
Here.
Daphne Maurer. Elaine Palencia.
Here,
Daphne Maurer here.
Hi, Daphne.
Hi, I'm under my husband's account, so I apologize.
Oh, you were the first one here. Okay,
Look at me go.
yeah. Okay, so Kyle Patterson. Julian Rappaport.
Here.
James Brandel.
Here.
John Paul Joachim. And Joe Omosage. Okay, thanks.
With the approval of the agenda.
Did you call for a motion?
Yeah, a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I so move.
I will second it.
So then roll call on that, please.
Do you have any discussion?
Any discussion about the agenda? If so, let's move on.
Okay. Matt Hausman,
Yes.
Daphne Maurer,
Yes. Yes.
Elaine Palencia,
Yes,
Kyle Patterson, Julian Rappaport,
Julie?
Did you hear me say yes or
I
no?
didn't, I'm sorry. James Brandel,
Yes.
John Paul Joachim, Joe Omosage.
Yes. The citizen input or participation from the public. The Shields part of the room. Nobody, Matthew, nobody else there, but anyone here having an input?
Just want to say hi and thanks for what you all are doing. I'm wanting to find out more about the group and I'm a colleague of Joe's, so hi.
Thanks, Larry. If no one else, we'll go ahead and I'll come with my comments and the executive's comments. And over the past, we've not met since July, so the school has started pretty much locally.
Trouble making out what Joe is saying. My volume is very muffled.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Do you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's very muffled.
yeah.
Okay, I will try to be as clear as possible.
Thank you.
School has started in pretty much every, in Champaign County, all the schools have started. And one of the things that we have noticed, it seems to be there's been an uptick in physical violence in the schools and I think based on what we know about anxiety and depression and mental health, some of what might be happening maybe based on being away from school for the last 18 months, being around your peers, their anxiety is higher. I know here at Parkland, our numbers are up in the counseling area. And I know that seems to be that the school district was cut a little bit flat-footed about what they really needed to do. And so the kids, the young people are feeling the fights are up. And I hope that we have within the community, the mental health community, we can find ways in which we can assist all the schools in our district, in our area, to hopefully alleviate the tension that's there. And it's not just Champaign schools, it's Urbana schools. I'm not too sure about some of the county schools, but I know at least in Muhammad there was a discussion about the Pride Parade and how better than it became becomes kind of an issue to discuss also. I know the Champaign schools are looking at some other ways to look at alleviating that issue based on some restorative justice approach, and those are things that will be conversation with Champaign schools and Urbana schools to also find that approach. So let's hopefully find a way to keep all our kids safe. So, executive director's comments.
So I'm really having trouble hearing anything. I'm sorry, Joe. So I also want to keep my comments minimal because of the feedback in here. Sorry. I think the board packet is full of information from me, so maybe I'll let it speak for itself. Hopefully it's a lot of information. You don't have a lot of decisions to make tonight, so hopefully that'll be smooth. It's good to see everybody again.
So moving on, the new business. The UIUC evaluation capacity presentation, further presentation.
Thanks, Joe. That's me.
Yeah. Mark Aber, yeah, that's you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Aber. I'm a faculty member in the psychology department at the U of I. And I am here tonight to talk to you about the evaluation capacity building work we've been doing. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Hopefully this will work. Can you see that? Yes. And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
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 Perfect. Thank you. So again, I'm happy to be here tonight. This is work that, as you all know, we've been doing for a number of years. And I've been doing it since the beginning with Nicole Allen, my colleague in the psychology department. She is unable to be here tonight, regrets that. She has taken on a new role as acting head of our department, and she is at the beginning of the semester on a very steep learning curve, and her time is completely consumed. So, but she is here in spirit, and her work is reflected in the accomplishments we had this past year. We also had a great group of graduate students, a couple of whom were supported by the contract, Emily Blevins, Danielle Dawson, Hope Holland, and Andy Quaisbarth, all played a critical role in the work we did, and they all served as the primary liaisons to our target partners, which I'll talk about in a moment here. So this past year, we promised to do a number of things that we have been doing now for several years. We continued to create a learning organization among funded agencies and the boards. The goal here is to really try to create a culture where the programs are comfortable with evaluation and are able to talk to one another about evaluation and to share information about how they are trying to learn from their evaluations and improve their programs. This year, like other years, the programs who were targeted partners are presenting next Tuesday, actually, at the agency council meeting, where they will share highlights and entertain questions from their peers. And we see this as a critical step in just loosening, breaking the ice, loosening up the atmosphere and letting people talk openly about evaluation, which is often scary for programs. We continued to support the development of theory of change logic models. We conducted, I think, 7 different workshops over the course of the year, 2 that were targeted primarily to programs. We had multiple programs, and then we did 5 that involved the board and the board staff. Many of you were part of those discussions, and I'll spend a minute or 2 talking about that later in the presentation as well. We continued to build a buffet of tools. This is an online repository of standardized survey instruments and other kinds of measures of outcomes that are might be of common interest across programs. And we're also going to be putting our data workshops in that place so that people can access them in the future and when they need them. We continued the evaluation consultation bank with agencies. This year was a little different than in past years. Typically that work was targeted to programs who have not had targeted partnerships. It was sort of the second prize for programs that weren't chosen, but wanted some support or some limited support in developing their capacity to collect data and use it for quality improvement purposes. We also use that to with prior partners, and to good effect. We had the Community Services Center of Northern Champaign County who took good use of the consultation bank this past year, along with community choices as well. And then we had targeted evaluation partnerships. This past year, we had 2 new partners. One was Cunningham Children's Home, their Families Stronger Together program. And the second new partner was RACES, Rape Advocacy, Counseling and Educational Services. They were terrific partners. These are 2 very, as you all know, very strong agencies and who have a real interest in evaluation. And I think they made great progress. If you're interested in their brief presentations, they'll be at the agency council meeting next Tuesday. This is a very skeletal presentation on purpose. I know you have a long agenda. I know you had a lot of material in your board packet, so I don't want to hit every detail. I'm trying to give you the broad strokes and welcome any questions you might have at the end. So with our new partners, we created and or refined their program theory of change logic models. This is, as you know, sort of the foundation of the work that we do. We ask programs to think hard about why they think what they're doing is going to lead to the outcomes that they expect to get and hope to get. And then we help them develop intermediary outcomes that might mark more proximal progress along the way to those long-term outcomes. That serves as a tool for communication and for keeping, you know, sort of the logic of their programs front and center when they're trying to think about evaluation. We also helped programs develop new survey measures or measures of program constructs. If there weren't existing measures already out there in the literature, we helped identify such measures for programs, high quality empirically based measures of key constructs and outcomes, including measures of access and barriers to program participation and implementation, as well as program participant outcomes. We help programs develop efficient and standardized data collection, storage, and analysis procedures, identified appropriate benchmarks when those were needed for programs to help them interpret the program impacts. So sometimes, you know, we want everyone to, you know, maybe we have a program that's for employment and we want everyone to have a full-time job. But, you know, the standards in the world out there are that, you know, if you hit 50% getting a full-time job, you've done an amazing job. And so identifying benchmarks that are realistic and have empirical support behind them is often helpful for people to think about how their program impacts can be dubbed successes or not. And then we supported programs to use the data they collect to improve their programs and to share their outcomes with various audiences. This is really the bottom line of the work we're trying to do, and that is to not only collect data, but to, you know, help programs learn how to think about it and use it for the purposes of program improvement and for, you know, attracting resources and making the case to other funders that the work they're doing is valuable and for being accountable to. New this past year, we did 3 things. We, for the first time, targeted partners that had already had a partnership with us in a previous year. And this was to help try to move them towards data usage. We found that for many programs, by the end of the first year of working closely with them, they had gotten to the point where they could collect the data and had reliable mechanisms for storing it, but they didn't really have a clear sense of how to make best use of that for quality improvement or for communication. So we started 3 new partnerships along those lines. We also offered 2 workshops. We were promised to offer 2 workshops for data usage fundamentals. I'll say a bit about those in just a moment. And then we also wanted to work more directly with the board to help the board increase its knowledge about evaluation and its comfort and engagement with evaluation. And I'll say a bit more about that too. So the 3 programs that we targeted for data evaluation usage, what we called our continuing partners, were GROW, Rosecrance's Criminal Justice and Mental Health Program, and the Uniting Private Center of Champaign County. And I think in each case, we made substantial progress with them in helping them to make better use of their data. And the details about that you'll find, or you probably already read about, in your board packets. The workshops around data usage fundamentals, we did 3 of those. The first one being the most basic, and they increased slightly in complexity across the 3. So we had some programs who attended all 3 of them. But the first was really just a basic introduction to data itself. What is it? How's it different than just information or words or numbers that you might find anywhere in the world? What is the nature of data? What kinds of questions can data answer for programs? And what types of data can we collect, use, and share? So we spent time talking about qualitative data, quantitative data, mixed methods, how to use them together, and just basically describing what data is and can be. The second data workshop, cleverly entitled Data 102, was an introduction to basic statistical concepts for understanding program outcomes. We covered things like how to compute a mean, how to look at the variance in the data across the mean, basic ideas about how to display data in graphic form so that you can understand it, that kind of thing. And we covered best practices for data entry and management in Excel. One of the goals here is to make it easier for programs to use their data. And along those lines, we're looking for computer programs that are easy to access, that are relatively inexpensive, and that are commonly used. And we have settled on Microsoft Excel for these early workshops. There are others that are more clever and do more sophisticated things, but this is one that has a lot of flexibility and is in wide use. So we've been working with that. And in Data 103, we went into more depth about using Excel to automate data analysis. So you could set up an analysis in the program and keep adding data to it, maybe a new year's worth of data or data, in real time, and then recompute your analysis very simply by having automated formulas in the program to do that work. We also had automated formulas for reporting and visualization of the data. It would graph and compute tables and that kind of thing. So this was probably the most popular of the 3 workshops, and was also the most complicated. And so it was really the people who were the farthest along in thinking about data that benefited most from that workshop. This wasn't the first time we've done these. It was, I think, a successful experiment. We're going to refine them and build on them for next year. And we will record them next time. We didn't record them the first time because we were not confident they'd be worth it. But now we are confident of that, and we will record them and put them on the web in that buffet of tools location so that others have access to them, and those who participated in the workshops can go back to them whenever they want. And then with the board, among the various opportunities that we thought they might want to pursue, logic modeling was the thing that got chosen. We came to that decision through talking with the staff and the evaluation committee. And as I think I said, we conducted 5 workshops. Those were attended by the board staff. I think Lynn was there for all of them. Sandra was there for most of them. And we had at each workshop up to 2 mental health board members and 2 developmental disabilities board members to be in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. And I think we did great work. We moved very quickly to flesh out a model that was basically covered the landscape and of the work that the boards do. And then in successive meetings, refined it with input from new board members. And we produced what we think is a relatively well-organized and compact logic model. You've seen this in your board packets already. I showed to you here, not to go through every detail of it, but just to say that I think the process was very useful. We see the logic model as a sort of blueprint for how work is structured in organizations, how they expect the activities that the organization engages in is going to produce short-term and long-term outcomes. And often just the process of putting one of these together is very valuable to the people who participate because it helps them clarify assumptions that they make that others don't share with them and helps them just, see everything all on the same page, more or less. And so I think this was a productive exercise. I hope it's more than that. It is intended to be a working document, meaning that it should be visited and refined as the programs or your goals as a board change, as the conditions that you're working in change and force you to take up new activities or develop new priorities and new short and long-term outcomes. So we found that a very positive experience and hope the board did too. And then finally, if I can answer this one more time, I just wanted to point to one new deliverable that we're expecting to pursue this coming year. And that is the board staff have asked for some support in reviewing the evaluation section of the applications for funding. We assisted with this a little bit last year, and we're going to organize the training and provide more structured support to the board staff to do that in the coming year. So that's all I have for you tonight. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to try to answer them.
I have a comment.
Hi, Elaine.
When we began this process, as I recall it, we were concerned as a board because sometimes we couldn't fully understand what agencies were doing, what the effect was, and we couldn't see the clear lines from mission statement to how our money was being spent. And also, I think agencies were having trouble getting the data that would express what they were doing. And in many cases, maybe they were down the wrong track because they hadn't the data to tell them that. And so as you have worked with agencies, I've seen that kind of in-house thing get straightened out, with the partners you have. But now in the, what we have in our board packet now, I notice there are examples of those skills being, the use of them evolving past just collecting data in the office and being used to kind of send tendrils out into the community. And I think that's wonderful. A couple of examples I noticed was with the Families Stronger Together program. We got information that they asked for help in evaluating a training on trauma-informed care that they did, out with community partners. Well, that's moving outside the office and using, the things that you have taught them. And then with races, they used skills they had learned to kind of reconfigure their delivery system to take into account what COVID, the effect of COVID. So I think it's wonderful that these skills are not just being used for the original reasons, but now that agencies get those skills, they can think of all other things to do with them. So thank you very much, everybody who thought of doing this. I think it's really working.
Thank you, Elaine. I appreciate that comment.
Julie? Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, I had a question for you, Mark, and actually it kind of follows you all after what Elaine just said, especially for somebody coming on new to the board. I had this kind of meta thought as I was looking over this last night, and it'd be kind of nice to see is how that progression. So almost the evaluation of the helping the evaluations. And because I think Lynn, you mentioned that you had seen the applications, that the staff has seen the applications improve and all that kind of. So seeing that would be kind of nice, especially for people new to the board, to see, and what Elaine just explained, having that would be, I think, a great resource.
I appreciate that comment, Matt. In fact, we've done a little informal, not highly systematic, but a little informal reviewing of the program applications to look for evidence that the work that we've been doing is showing up in the descriptions of the plans for evaluation and the reporting of the data that the programs are collecting. And it's that review, although not systematic, has convinced us that at least some programs are making headway that way. I think you're right. It would be nice to do a systematic, full-blown job of that. So we'll definitely take that under advisement and think about how we might be able to incorporate more of that kind of work into our contract for next year. But I also want to say that in addition to looking at their applications, oh gosh, I've lost my train of thoughts. I'm sorry. I'll come back to it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank. But oh, I know what it was. We did a survey last year of agencies about their experiences in this process. And that was part of our presentation to the board last year at this time. And I would be happy to send that to you. And so you could look at it. It's in the same spirit. It's not exactly what you're describing, but it's in the same spirit of trying to pay attention to, is this approach to building evaluation capacity actually working? We don't take that for granted. We're not interested in continuing this work unless it is truly of value. And so we are concerned about that. And I think that those survey results also support the conclusion that it is making a difference. There are other ways to do this. The board could hire a staff member to do evaluation or evaluation capacity building. The board could just hire, an independent evaluator to look at targeted, particular programs that you have the most concerned about. And there are advantages and disadvantages to those alternative approaches. I think the one somewhat unique value of what we're doing is trying to, as I mentioned at the top, trying to create a culture amongst program staff in various agencies across the community, that it's not only helpful, it's an ethical obligation to pay attention to your outcomes and to try to measure them so that you know that the investments that are being made in your program are worth it, and that you're doing the best, most importantly, you're doing the best you can by the people who need your help or who need the support of your services. So, and I think that involves building capacity in programs rather than having outsiders come in and do evaluations. And I really appreciate Elaine's comment, because I do think those are the kinds of observations we need to be keeping our eye out for to detect the kind of change we want to see and that you rightly asked for.
Thanks, Mark.
I haven't, I guess, remembered exactly what is included in all the applications, but would this be, say, something that you could include in an application, say, an initial hypothetical logic model with thought process, which I know is what is done, but not kind of filtered down into this nice outline? Could you include that in the application at the beginning?
Yeah, there's nothing that would prevent programs from doing that. There is actually a section in the application that calls for them to articulate outcomes and to articulate the methods that they'll use to gather data to collect those outcomes. So, describe the nature of the data that they will use to measure those outcomes.
Those questions are in the application.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing very well, but there's a whole lot of questions that get to that in the application.
Yeah. And so that's usually more help. The work we're doing is usually more helpful to programs who are reapplying for money than for people who are applying the first time around. Although,
I see. I just didn't know if that would demonstrate, say, a knowledge of, that process and the way to present what they're putting in words, at that time, to help them distill it beforehand, just to improve maybe what they are looking at wanting to do, why, and then showing that they are able to display their thoughts, logic, process, intermediary results, and final results to the board whenever it's time to do so, and they have the knowledge beforehand. But I understand that that's not something everybody does, and that they are doing it in a way, but maybe something that they could get up to speed on before embarking on their endeavor. And I understand what you're saying as well. That was just my comment.
yeah,
So,
no, I appreciate that comment. And I'll just add that, I do think it is conceivable that if you wanted to, the applications could ask for a theory of change logic model. Now, many people who are new to this will not know what that means. And so it would take a fair amount of thick description in the instructions to try to explain it. And it's conceivable too that there could be some workshops for new applicants, if that was desirable, to teach them about how to create such a model. But I think it wouldn't be an unreasonable addition to the application to ask for a theory of change logic model.
I don't think it would be a problem, but I think it could be for some of the much smaller agencies. That would be difficult to.
I agree, Joe. And I think that would definitely have to be balanced against. I mean, one of the great things about this board, from my perspective, and I know I'm just one person, but that, the mental health board has been a consistent funder of small, new startup organizations that do innovative and creative kinds of programming. And I think it would be not worth it to ask for a logic model if it was going to be a barrier in any way to such programs being successful in applications.
So I would like to just comment about how we're thinking about this. I think one of the great contributions that this evaluation team has done is to demystify what evaluation means. I've seen many human service programs in which most of the people who are out doing community work at various levels of providing services are not really focusing, and I don't think they should focus on doing formal research about what they're doing. And a part of what this project seems to be accomplishing, seems to me, is because the evaluators have taken this stance of not coming in trying to say, yes, this is a good program or a bad program, or you're doing this right or wrong. It's not evaluative in that sense. What it is more of a developmental process, providing, I think, unique skills for people in the human services community. And I think that's what the people that we're funding have actually appreciated. I was initially worried that we'd get a lot of unhappiness or upset about, you're going to do evaluation, and everybody would get nervous and think that we're being terrible people and so on. Actually, the opposite has happened. They've really, I think many programs have and individuals have really embraced this. They're embracing it because I think they're accurately discovering that what they're learning are skills that are useful. So I guess I think we should actually resist trying to give, well, here, look, this shows they're making progress. Kind of, I don't think we ought to frame it that way. I think we ought to frame it as helping people to develop skills and let them tell us what they're doing with those skills. That's all fine. We should expect to see those kinds of things come out. But I'm a little nervous about if we, over time, I wouldn't want it to sort of fall into the old, here come the evaluators now. They're going to tell us that we're not doing things right. Nervousness, which if you've ever worked in a program like that in the community, you know there's a lot of those feelings out there because that's often what, quote, researchers do. So anyway, that's my 2 cents about this.
Thanks, Julian. I appreciate that comment. I tend to agree with you.
Wouldn't it be helpful though, maybe even if they're not getting quote unquote results, then at least it's a contribution to maybe learning more needs for our community and that kind of thing, and maybe directions they can go. I mean, everybody wants a pretty outcome, right? But if we don't get a pretty outcome, it doesn't mean that the agencies may be bad. It just means maybe a different direction or I don't know, different measurements. I guess that's the way I see it in terms of like, oh, here comes the big bad evaluators, like just like here comes like okay, we're gonna write down what we found out and whether it hit the target, was below the target, at target. Any of the outcomes would seem to provide somewhat useful information, and I can understand how it would make someone anxious. So I don't know.
And I think some of the outcomes that we get in service like this is not something that you see in 1 year. It's sometimes a little bit more cumulative. And you might see it 5 years after the young person's left the program. So, but that's always a key point for me.
I can't understand a word you're saying, Joe.
Oh man,
it's something about
if I lean into this, can you hear me?
That helps.
Okay.
You
So
look
what I was
too.
trying to say is that sometimes the outcome is not just seen in 1 year, that it might be seen in 3 years or 5 years down the line. And then working at Cunningham, sometimes you don't see that immediate thing that happens in a year or two, but 4 years later, the young person comes back on campus and says, oh, that happened and that worked. So it's, I've been working with Operation Snowball for over a decade. Sometimes I did not think anything we were doing was actually working until 10 years later when I was running to these young men and women as adults. So I mean, I like evaluation. I think evaluation is great, but I think sometimes we shouldn't just see the data point after a year or two. You all hear me?
Yes, and point well taken. Thank you.
I'll lead into it.
Joe, can I make a comment? So the agencies submit year-end reports on all their performance outcomes, whether they worked with the evaluation capacity building project or not. Everyone's required to report on outcomes, and then we put those together into one gigantic document and post it on the website. So I could point you to the reports from previous years. You could just wait and it'll be like probably done in about 3 weeks. But it's interesting. It's just a lot. Sometimes it's 300 pages, but you know, there really is a lot of detail that could mean something more than we make of it. We just, a lot of times, like now we get busy with other things. We don't know exactly how to use all that good data other than to show it to you. So it's worth a look though. If you want to, I'll point you to it.
Go ahead, John.
So one thing, you know, I would like to say is, just bouncing off Julian's point is, in at least in the medical field, like we do quality improvement projects. Like for my license, I have to do quality improvement project every, at least I think I do 2 every couple years. And so it just keeps you in the mindset of no matter how long you've done something, there's always something that you can focus on to see if you can improve in the way you're, on my instance, practice medicine, or work as a clinic. And so even if there is no change in the way at the end of all the effort of the way you do something because you're doing a good job, at least then you know that you're doing a good job with the strategy that you're implementing. You're not just doing work because it sounds like a good idea because it makes you feel good. Like the DARE program, for example, you know, it makes people feel good that we did DARE, but it didn't actually do anything. And it was kind of a waste of time. So in that aspect, you know, in medicine we do, or at least the way we do it, you know, you plan a change that you want to probably implement, you do it, and then you study it and how it affected, you know, the outcome in the patient care you provided, and then you act on the changes that it made, and whether or not that actually made an improvement, how you would make things different, or if you would keep things the same or not. And so I mean, I think it's good for other, especially in mental health and in the organizations that are providing care, that they kind of, you know, have that kind of mindset that, you know, there's always something we could always do a little better if we get complacent in the way we're doing things. We're not trying to be more efficient or make sure that what we're doing is actually effective. And so, you know, these are people that work very hard at what they do, the organizations that provide care in this county, and they have, you know, their heart in the right place. And I think it's good to make sure that they know themselves that they're actually making the difference they want to make. And if they're not, having them find ways to be effective in the way they want to be. And so it's giving them more agency over their agency. So I think this is a great thing for them to do. And you know, to go back, I think that teaching the organizations to do this instead of having an outside evaluator telling them what they need is such a much better strategy, because outside people, you know, even myself, you know, and all of us, we don't know what the day-to-day is. We don't know what those people that the agencies serve go through. They have a lot more, you know, experience and are better advocates than we can be for those people. And so they're going to know what the best changes would be, or needs are for those populations. So I agree that this is the best way forward in my opinion. So I think it's a great program.
Thank you, John. So would you want to say that out loud? I know it's in the chat.
Joe, someone just stated in the chat from an agency perspective, they appreciate we can define our measurements in the application related to community event screenings. Not all funders do this.
Well, thank you.
And I put the website is ccmhddbrds.org, and all the way at the bottom are these aggregated reports and a whole bunch of other board documents. But I put an example of that in the chat in case anyone's interested in going. I think it's great stuff, but it's a lot of reading.
So, yes. So do we have any other comments or for this? Or move it to the next the meeting assessment? Any questions or comments for Mark?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you tonight. And thank you for your questions and comments. They're very helpful. And look forward to seeing you again, hopefully before this time next year, but definitely next time next year, if not.
Yeah. Say congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mark. Here it is, Joe.
Oh, yes.
We only do this every 3 years, and I'm glad because it took a few months to put this together. And you can tell, like, there are the parts of it that, so this was a wonderful group effort. I love our staff. I just want to tell you, we have the best team, lots of input from the team into this. The parts of it that I did between 3 in the morning and 10:30 in the morning of the day that it was due at 9 in the morning have 3 mistakes that I found. So I apologize. The version that sits as an addendum to this board packet, which has all the appendices, which include all of the survey results in case you're interested in those comments, and really some interesting agency reports on impacts of COVID. That's all in the appendices. So that version has corrections. In your board packet, there is the website is wrong, the acknowledgements aren't quite right, and then, well, and then there's a couple other typos that you might notice in the parts I did late at night. But otherwise, I love this thing. It's not a large enough set. Our survey data is not a large enough set to have any kind of reliability, but really interesting feedback from people. And there are some trends that I think matter to us. And so we did include some conclusions in the executive summary. I also felt like it was an important exercise for me to, especially to find some positives, because I'm not good at that, but I did, and they're in here. So I want you to know that we ended on what might be the best news of the whole year, which is at the very end of the report in the section on developmental disabilities. Because of COVID, a lot of people didn't want to go back to dangerous service jobs. And so people with developmental disabilities are being hired into community positions like never before. So that's accidental good news. Anyway, it's a long report. It will continue to help us with the work for the next few years. We've got, we're involved in other community needs assessment processes throughout the community. So it's sort of in partnership too. So anyway, I can just show you, we used a prettier font than usual. I don't know if I'm gonna stop talking because of the feedback and just let you all talk. We'll use some of this information in the 3-year plan and the priorities document for PY23 too.
So I'll say something. With all the information reading this plan, it's kind of just, it's a lot of information. And if you wanted to fix the world or the country, this is like, you just go down the list, like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need more money for this, we need more money for this. And it almost seems overwhelming at times reading it. Um, and it's hard as a mental health board to think about what can we do about certain things, like the wage for needed for a 2-bedroom home or apartment in Champaign is $16.69 an hour, but the mean renter wage here is $12.11. So it's yeah, I mean, and then a lot of people said that obviously they dislike gun violence, or there's the feeling of unsafety in the city of Champaign and the city of Urbana. Those are kind of the top things that people were had concerns about, and the problem is those are the results of a lot of other issues in the county, or in general in society. And so it's like, how do we fix that when it requires a lot of effort in multiple areas and financing in multiple areas, and there probably isn't the community will to put that money forward to fix all those things, or to fund all those things, unfortunately. And so then it becomes like, as a board, what can we do with our resources to pick at the low-hanging fruit, is the kind of the best way I can put it. And I'm trying to figure out what the low-hanging fruit is, and I'm not sure. So I would love to hear other people's thoughts on that.
I have a comment for the next time you do this. I was thinking, Champaign County has about 200,000 people, and you got about 210 responses. Is that right? So, you divide that out and it's 0.0015. And I was thinking about, when do I answer surveys? Is there some tipping point? And I was just wondering, if you do this again and you're in, not for everybody, maybe, because people online will answer, but excuse me, I don't want that to happen. There are little teeny gifts, if you want to go into some neighborhood, I don't know, a ballpoint pen, something really cheap, but it tips the balance sometimes. Oh, I'll answer a Subway survey because I get a free cookie next time. I mean, it's silly, but it works.
We did that.
You did it, and that's how you
Did.
got it anyway. What did you give?
Well, I think we should let Leon Bryson speak to that.
Because I think it really does work if you advertise it. So Leon, what did you all do?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lynn. So basic incentives go a long way. And so, I had the privilege of going to places like Shadowwood, Mobile Trailer Park, and Country Brook apartment complex. And what I was able to bring with me were things like chips and little bottles of water and cookies, and even at some point, a little $5.
Yeah, we had an anonymous donation of
Yes,
cash.
right. So
Yeah.
we were able to do that and got the most responses from folks when I was able to hand out these small incentives. So
Okay.
we know that it works. We know that it works. Just another factor would be, the time of day. When do you administer you know, whether it's in person, in-person surveys. So, you know, you kind of don't want to be out late at night trying to administer surveys, but yet
Right.
that's when you get most people most people at home after 5 p.m. So yeah, we have that little challenge ahead of us, but it was a meaningful experience. And I know Kim Baldry, my colleague, did the same thing with issuing surveys to food pantries and churches and other locations. And so we put on our boots and started walking, hitting the pavement. So we did the canvassing thing, and was
Say that.
pretty
Because
successful.
you really got out there. You really did. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's all.
And we had a focus group that was really, their input was so helpful, and we gave them gift cards. And I think it was was it a focus group member? No, it was one of the people you talked to in person who said, what's going to change with this?
Yes, that
I
was
think that's the best quote.
that was a respondent over there in Country Brook. And after taking 15-20 minutes to complete the survey, that person looked at me point blank and said, so now that we're done, what's going to change? And, that's a super valid question. I was stumped because I don't have the answer to what's going to change, what's going to come out of this assessment. But that's the looming question. Now that it's done, what becomes of it?
I had a question. Do we give this information to the city councils in the county?
No, but it's public, and I have that revised version that I'm happy to share. And it's posted on the website, on both
Because, like,
websites.
some of the concerns from the respondents or the participants were things that are not in our purview, but in the purview of city governments.
Right. We can sure share it. It's, everything we do is public. So it's just an email.
Along the lines of the comment about what is going to change, when I was reading through this, I was thinking, there are probably a lot of people, and I understand that this is what the advocates answer these questions for, but it would be nice to figure out a way to reach the marginalized who have just lost hope for any kind of change whatsoever, which is why they don't want to fill out surveys, clearly. But somehow try to get their input on maybe what, all kinds of things barriers that they ran into got them to the place where they are. I don't even know where you find them because they stopped coming for help and those kinds of things. But, just people who lose hope for change are, the most valuable people that can provide information most of the time. But unfortunately, I don't have any good ideas on reaching those folks, but I thought I'd share that.
I think you're absolutely right. Whenever we are trying to figure out what is the unmet need, it's impossible to count the people who aren't asking anymore or who don't want what's out there. And that's a really important piece of unmet need. So, figuring out how to get to that is a challenge each time we do this, which is part of why we do it differently every time. But I think we learned a lot this time around. So.
Well, I'm a general pessimist about what can be done to make things better, but nevertheless, I actually think that the process of doing it, I feel a little bit about this the same way I do about that evaluation. The process of doing it in the community, so that to think about this more, and maybe you know somebody else who you're going to talk to about it. And a lot of I know it seems a little bit indirect, but quite a few of the small programs that we end up funding are simply citizens who've gotten together because they were thinking about this kind of stuff, and they formed a little group, and then that group started to think about itself as taking some action, and they were looking for help. And the mental health board, I think one of its great assets is that it can become a resource when those small groups of people form. So I think some of the best things that we're supporting actually are the things that are not the flashiest looking, that don't have fancy executive director organizations behind them, but have just some people working hard for some need that they all became aware of. And there's a remarkable number of those that happen. So my view is when you ask questions and raise awareness, that's a step toward change. And it's a change because what it does is stimulate people to think about it. So I'm a believer in the Obama approach, which is, hey, you want this to change? Get involved, do something about it. And so I think that's what we ought to tell people. Everybody, even people, there are a lot of the people that we have served in these small programs who in some sort of abstract way are people in need. And yet often the people in need can take a hold of the very problem that they're in need of help for, and they know a lot about it. And they can form a small group of people who work together because they understand it through their own experiential knowledge. So I guess I just think we should be at least optimistic that simply calling attention and focusing people to think about these things is a good thing to do, not because it'll solve everything, but because it'll keep the processes of human beings communicating with each other about things that matter. So that's my spoken from a cynical background, but I believe that what I just said.
I appreciate that, Mr. Pessimist. Thank you.
Is it okay? Well, can I butt in?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry. This is hard to resist. One of the things that we talked about while we were doing this was doing a small survey every year, like at least doing that focus group part of it every year. And then by the time we were done writing it, I was like, no, I need a couple years away from this, but I do think there's potential. And there is a DD preference survey that is done every year by an agency. It's the agency that is sort of like the gatekeeper for state funded services. They ask questions about what they want and what they need. And that gives us a lot of information. It's not, people tend to answer like what maybe they're telling us what they think we want to hear, or they're just talking about they like the things they have. Either thing is fair, but at least we're asking. So, there was a moment where we were pretty excited about what Leon was doing and, thinking like, could we do something like this each year if we had the same tool each year? So, maybe if what you're saying, Julian, is right, then there would be some real benefit from figuring out how to do this.
Well, just say one little thing about this. When I listened to where Leon said he went, I just wondered right away, well, how often do the people that he went to talk to have anybody ask them what they think about anything? Like their opinion matters. I think that's a tremendous, just doing that that's a mental health activity. So I praise you for doing that. And I think it's a tremendous contribution to people who are often never asked.
So can you guys hear me at all? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So part of what I was trying, I've been trying to say for the last few minutes is, I like what Leon did, getting out in the Shadowwood, and those are my old stomping grounds when I was at a mental health center. And a lot of times we don't see it right away. So we say, what's going to change? What's going to change is not going to be overnight. And I think we've fallen into the trap of thinking that things will change right away. And I think sometimes reassuring them that this is not going to be an overnight process. You're part of a solution. We have some of the resources here, and we can work together to make these things happen, because it's going to take time. It's not a one-shot deal. I don't like one-shot deals. I want it to be an ongoing thing. And as an ongoing endeavor, we might see changes then. If you're involved, if we're involved, if a lot of people are involved in the process. And that's what this is all about, I think. And I think hopefully we can start seeing more changes if we are all in, like with the gun violence. I mean, I've talked to several people within the school district, and also Karen Sims, and there is gun violence. We know that. How do we solve gun violence? We don't solve gun violence just one shot at a time. We try to get the community vested in the whole process of seeing how we can work together. And we volunteer, we get out and we support them financially in every which way we can, but we also support them through the mental health needs of the community. If someone has been shot, that's not just that one person. It's a family, it's the cousins, it's the classmates, it's those people that we need to still reach out to bring them into the fold so that we can help solve the whole issue of gun violence. Because a lot of times we keep looking at gun violence as a singular thing. It's not just those individuals shooting at each other. Those individuals have families, those individuals have friends, those individuals have cousins and fictive kinship, things like that. So that's what my computer's been having a problem today. Oh, any other comments? Good, go ahead, Lynn.
Well, just thank you for mentioning that. That was the one thing on everybody's mind. That just came through so strongly from all the, well, our survey, other local surveys, and then there's just we pulled some national data just to give that a context. But, today I was in the office and a lady called looking for disability services for her son, and Kim knew some phone numbers. And so we were able to help her direct her to disability service providers. But, she mentioned that he is disabled because of a shooting. And so I asked her if she was thinking at all about maybe what kind of support she could use. And she said, no, I'm not ready for that. So, I think I need to get better at what do you do? Because, I'm glad she called. I want to know what we should do to support her, right? So anyway.
And there are, I've talked to different factions within the community, and there are lots of different things happening. We just have to bring them together. And we will, that's the goal. How can we bring all these different people together to start working on the larger issue of the violence within the community? Because the anxiety is up. Mario is on this call, and Mario, as a counselor here, knows that our numbers are up here at Parkland. I can't imagine what the high schools and middle schools are dealing with because of all the different issues going on that are not being spoken about. So, any other comments on this? Okay. 3-year plan, objectives, we've kind of done that. Any more to add to it?
So here it is. It's, this is unfortunately things, at least in my view, haven't changed so dramatically that it would call for big changes to the plan. So this is a new 3-year plan, but it doesn't feature really dramatic changes, and you might want really dramatic changes. So know that it's a draft. Leon worked on this, and Kim and I got in there and worked on it a little bit too. And I think that I feel good about it, but the next step is that Leon will ask for input from service providers and other stakeholders. And we also will be looking forward to your thoughts on what we could do. The changes are highlighted. If it's a deletion, there's a strike through, and if it's an addition, it's in italics. So you can see they're, just not huge additions or deletions. It could be different, but that depends on the kind of input that we get next. So we'll bring this back to you for approval later in the fall. But anyway, so it's a starting point, and I thought he did a real good job, and he used the logic model and put, some of the pieces in there too. And we could do more of that, but this is very new to us, like weaving the logic model in with the way that we've typically structured the 3-year plan was a little bit of a challenge. We did retain a few years ago, Dr. Fowler requested after each objective that we clarify whether this was maybe a board responsibility, an agency responsibility, a staff responsibility, or maybe it's all 3, but like what type. So that's why there are these little parenthetical statements after each one. So anyway.
I think doing that's an improvement in the way these plans have been put forth. It'll help me at least think about them better, more easily now when I go back over it. I thought that was a great thing to do.
So if you don't have any discussion about it tonight, please know that we look forward to hearing from you about it.
So any questions or comments about it right now? So if there are no questions or comments, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is agency information.
Oh. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Oh, okay, no. It happens to the best of us. I know I know I've not visited any agencies in a while, so.
Hey, this is Sarah from Macy.
Hey, Sarah.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Just a quick comment on the community needs assessment and surveys. A lot of the agencies have to do that, United Way, RPC, et cetera. And I know that there's some talk about trying to figure out how to combine efforts. And, to Julian's point, if every touch that we're making is a mental health activity, great, the more the merrier. But also then maybe it's the result compilation piece that people are hoping can weave in together and build on each other. And so I see that looking at this needs assessment too, how do we combine all the info so we can do our best? But that's all.
Thanks, Sarah. So if there is no agency information to add, let's go to old business.
I'm concerned because I don't see the budget documents in here. Maybe they're, yeah, here they are. Okay. All right. I had it before. So it's at the bottom of page 85 are two suggested decisions. You could do, approve these budgets separately, but essentially what's going on here is every year we spend a lot of time figuring out what our budget should look like for 2022. And then we ask you for approval, and that's around the same time that you're approving allocation decisions. And then right after that, we get better information about what our costs are going to be and what our projected revenues are going to be. So what you're looking at here in this set, this is the set of budgets that the county board is considering because they've been adjusted with information from the county, that like a little bit more revenue. I think I tried to collect all the changes. So you approved these budgets on June 23rd, and since then, these bullet points are the changes that were made. And I tried to italicize them in the budget documents so that you can see them, but the type is really small. I know it's not easy to see those. So anyway, sort of a lot of changes, but like the good news is a little bit more revenue than expected for the mental health board budget. And then with the SILA, this is the revised budget that they're looking at approving, but they also know that there's a great deal of uncertainty about the future of this project and the fund. So, and that I don't have any information about that until you and the DD board have an opportunity to discuss that. So I'm asking for you to approve this budget as it is, even though we know that it'll probably change again. It's just, you all need some time, to make some decisions about that. So
Make a motion to approve the attached 2022 CCMHB budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of, I don't know if I can read a number that big. $5,951,344.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Let's take a vote. Oh, discussion? Any questions or comments? If there are no questions or comments, we can take a vote. Chandra, roll call.
Daphne Maurer,
Yes.
Elaine Palencia,
Yes.
Kyle Patterson, Julian Rappaport,
Yes.
Jane Sprandel,
Yes.
John Paul Joachim,
Yes.
Susan Fowler, Matt Hausman,
Yes.
Joe Omar Sagie.
Yes.
And this is a suggested motion related to the SILA budget.
Is one of those houses sold by now, or what's going on there?
Yeah, and there's a memo right after this with and I can do a brief update too. So we know that the budget will end up changing, but for right now, this is what the county board is considering, with the caution that it's going to be changing. So we can deposit money into the fund and not do anything about it until you've had an opportunity to consider some possibilities.
Okay. Thanks.
So point of clarification, Lynn. So we need to do this so we would get that $50,000 from the county board. Is that my understanding?
Close. It's the 50,000 is what the DD board will deposit into it next year. So there's an opportunity to do it differently because they owe about 100,000 more than the mental health board does at this point. But depending on what happens next with the project, they might not make that deposit, but we would reconcile, the difference between the contributions of the boards in a different way. But right now, this is the plan. And it doesn't spend very much money, and some of the expenditures that are listed in this budget are moot now, because some of them have to do with maintaining houses. But there's a whole lot to figure out for an alternative 2022 budget. And I don't think that I should make guesses until you all have had an opportunity to talk about it. So right now, this is what the county board is going to be considering related to the fund. And it's just important to have a budget. And then changes to it can be made when you're ready.
Oh, we didn't have, okay, I didn't realize we didn't, I thought we'd already passed this one.
You did, but the county board is considering a different scenario, which is this one. Yeah. We got better information after the first budget. And we'll have better information in a couple weeks, probably. But we don't need to ask for any further changes to the budget unless there's a plan.
Is there any motion?
I'll motion to approve the attached 2022 SILA Facilities Fund budget with anticipated revenues and expenditures of $50,200. Payment to this fund is consistent with the terms of the intergovernmental agreement between the CCDDB and CCMHB, and full approval is contingent on the CCDDB action.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussions? There are no further discussions, so we'll take a vote. Chandra?
Okay, Daphne Maurer,
Yes.
Elaine Palencia,
Yes.
Julian Rappaport,
Yes.
Jane Sprandall,
Yes.
Jean-Paul Joachim,
Yes.
Matt Hausman,
Yes.
Joe Omosagie.
Yes. Now we'll move into the SILA report. Huh?
Well, I should start with the punchline, right? Always give away the good thing first. So I'll put the briefing memo up on the screen. It's pretty, I hope it's brief. I was trying. So the punchline is, in spite of a whole lot of extra steps that we weren't expecting, we were able to close on the first SILA house in half an hour closing. And then I came over to Brookings and it took 2 hours to deposit the check. So that's good government for you. Anyway, and I can't say much because they're private citizens, but the people who bought the house, one of them actually does work that's kind of related to our work. So I felt so happy. And they're new to town. So it was nice to have that connection to them. So anyway, at the bottom, I've described what the check was. Oh, there's a typo there. It should be $226,017.05. And I apologize for that. Yes.
That really makes a big difference, that 05.
Well, so in my mind, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Okay.
There's no different degrees of hell for something like this. So, it's that money, the earnest money and the money from the sale from the fire are deposited into the fund. You don't have to do anything with it yet. So we'll just, there's a little bit of fund balance in there as well. The second house was listed today. There are a lot of repairs needed on that house. So we've spent quite a lot of time like identifying exactly what we want them to do to improve that house. And it went on the market today. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, you don't have to do anything about this, but I thought that it was important to keep you posted.
Thanks for the information. So communication with the county board.
So this is kind of old news, but it's very exciting. At the end of July, so the request was made in June for some of the American Rescue Plan Act fiscal recovery funding to be diverted to programs that you were not able to fund during our regular allocation process. They had a really tough discussion about it in June. I think they have 5 times more the requests than they have money. I think counties and cities across the country are not used to being funders with big buckets of money to allocate. The final rule is not yet issued, so they're having to base conversations on guidance from the interim rule or interim final rule. It's clear in the American Rescue Plan Act that the kind of things that you normally fund, and especially services that are meeting new needs or increased needs, are fully what is meant in the American Rescue Plan Act. So this one thing they decided to fund, but it took a month. So at the end of July, they approved this. And I wanted to show you just the communication because it's on your behalf that the county had these discussions. But my favorite part is we had to do these little program summaries and we had 1 or 2 days to put them together. We didn't have like 2 months like we normally do for you all. And look what our staff did. It's so good. There's a checklist that was developed by the county, but on the second page, our staff came up with these with like 1-page descriptions. This was a collaboration of Kim and Leon and Chandra and I. And I love it. And I thought, when the mental health board sees this, you're going to be so jealous. These very succinct program summaries. So that's the main reason it's in here. But the good news is that this money is in the fund. All 9 of these contracts are, we've engaged with these agencies. We've met with all, and where there was a need for revisions to the application forms, we took care of that. We did a lot of getting to know you, and it's very exciting. And anyway, just finally some good news. Yay, right?
Yeah.
Well, you should be congratulated for pulling this, making it clear that the reality is that you and your staff do this all year long. This is what the mental health board is designed to do.
Right.
And so the fact that the county board recognizes that when you show them how it works, it's a good thing.
Yes.
So good for you.
I think they really did appreciate. Oh, thank you. They really did appreciate. And again, like I think I said earlier, we have such a good team. This is another example of like people just rallying. We had 2 or 3 days to put it together and they did it. It's so good. So then just as like a little icing on the cake, I went back to these charts that you've seen these before. Mark used to put these together each year, and man, this is hard to figure out because I can figure out per priority because we clearly document that. So adding the ARPA funds, you can see how we're investing. I'm supposed to be careful with that word in each of the priority categories across the last few years. And then there's a little chart. Then the harder one is when we do a comparison across sectors, because I really have to think about what the contracts are. Wow, this was hard, but it was so much fun because I'm saying, look at all the extra that we can do this year. Anyway, so that's just a little extra treat for you.
Some people have a funny definition of fun, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, looking at numbers makes me glaze over, okay? But thank you for doing all that good work. You guys rock. So, schedule allocation process timeline.
I'm not inclined to ask you to cancel any meetings anytime soon because we have some really exciting presentations to bring to you. And next month, we'll bring a draft of priorities. Also a draft of more revisions to the funding guidelines. There's some things that we can clean up there. They're not really substantial changes in the rules, but to make it a better set of rules. So stuff like that. And anyway, I worry about burning everybody out with too many meetings, but we're pretty excited about the fall. So
Sounds good. I'll hold you to that. It's gonna be exciting, huh? Okay, the CCDD information. You had a meeting today?
and they had roughly the same business, and they did approve the 2 budgets, but very similar questions about the SILA. And I think like I'm not sure. Maybe I could have done more to revise it, but I'm just very hesitant to make guesses about what you want to do with that fund. I don't think that's fair to you. So, but they're also interested in what might happen next.
Okay, let's go to the approval of the CCMHB minutes.
So I think you have 2 different sets of minutes. I imagine you could do a motion to approve them at the same time.
I think we can.
Have you done that before? Okay.
I think we've done that before.
Okay.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. We got a third too. That's okay. So we got a roll call.
Yes, Elaine Palencia,
Yes.
Julian Rappaport,
Yes.
Jane Sprandel,
Yes.
Sean Paul Youakim,
Yes.
Matt Hausman,
Yes.
Daphne Maurer,
Yes.
Joe Omoasagie.
Yes. Staff reports.
Do you want me to put those on the screen?
Yeah, if you could.
I can. There's a lot of overlap, but I think that's okay. One thing that's happened as a result of our, we're doing hybrid work, we're remote, but sometimes together. I think that our teamwork has gotten a lot better. So there's a lot of collaboration. And what I find interesting in the staff reports is like what each of us got out of the same experience. Different, yeah.
That's good.
And I have a staff report in this board packet. I don't do that all the time, but I thought it was a good time to get caught up. I attended a conference with a bunch of sessions, but I did not put all the notes in there this time. If you want to see my notes, I can hook you up. So next month I won't do this.
Okay.
It's, there's a lot of stuff that's just it's true for all of us. A lot of what we're reporting on are meetings that happen every month. I do want to mention partly because Sarah Belgoyam mentioned this, that she's heard about a collaborative. We are part of a collaboration to do the community mental health or the community health needs assessment with United Way, OSF, Carl, it's actually regional, so those entities in Vermilion and Champaign counties. Who else is at the table? We're hoping to invite Promise Healthcare in. They also need to do an assessment. So, you know, this is a combined assessment. We could have just used this for our community needs assessment. That's what Vermilion County Mental Health Board has done. But we really wanted to get involved and find out what people were thinking of and do our own. So hope we didn't fatigue people with surveys. Anyway. And then I want to point out, Chandra is, so here's Stephanie's, Stephanie gives us a compliance update. I don't know if you all have seen it, it's good stuff. But in Chandra's, there are links to reading that we could do that. Some of it is really interesting, and I've seen a few of the articles, but I appreciate her doing that. Let me see if I can get to it. Yeah. There. Anyway. And then her compliance sheet too.
Well, thanks for these reports. They're always very informative and summarize all kinds of things. A lot of which we talk about, but there's something useful about having it all in one place and being able to see it. So thanks for providing those.
Yes. So board to board reports. So anybody visited any of the boards? I think we've just really, I know I've not done much with that lately. Okay. So expenditure list, there we go. 148 to 156.
If I'm not mistaken, we have to move that to receive it. Is that what we vote on?
Yeah, you have to have a motion for it.
So motion to approve the expenditure report.
I'll move to accept the expenditure.
I
I'll
second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Julian Rappaport,
Yes.
Jane Sprandel,
Yes.
Jean-Paul Uwaki,
Yes.
Susan Fowler, Matt Hausman,
Yes.
Daphne Maurer,
Yes.
Elaine Palencia,
Yes.
Joe Omosagie.
Yes. Any board announcements? If there are no board announcements, someone move to adjourn. Not anybody jump, okay. I move to adjourn the meeting.
We all agree.
Okay, sounds like a
One
plan.
second.
Thank you,
Have a-
everybody.
Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and we'll see you sometime next month. Take care. Bye.